Well, good morning, everyone. That's a thing that I don't usually say for the local musician spotlight, but we're doing something a little bit different today. To beat the heat, we're filming ahead of time. I'm in the studio at the Emerson with Thomas for the KGVM local musician spotlight this week, and Loken Productions. Pat Loken is here with cameras, and we are videoing. You can watch this on YouTube if you're not a video Luddite like I am. So we're also joined by Brynn Staker and Kenneth Christensen. So we're in Thomas's studio today, and this will be a little bit of a change of pace from some of our other music, and I think it's going to be wonderful. So thanks for inviting us into your studio, Thomas.
You're so welcome, Bob. Thanks for your time.
Yeah. So maybe if you can just give us a little background about how long you've been doing music here and what sorts of musical enterprises you're involved with.
I'd love to. I've been in Bozeman for 2 years now, but one of those years was COVID, which was unexpected. I came up to finish a long abandoned music degree at MSU. So I played the piano, very classical-based piano, but during COVID, I got into filming music, really by necessity. I'd never been behind a camera, but all of our performances were canceled. So it was finding an alternative venue. So I started a platform called Bozeman Arts Live. That's Bozeman Arts -Live. And it became a company. It really was just the complexity of the recordings. At one point, I think I was trying to run 7 cameras and 7 microphones by myself. And a dear friend said, Thomas, you need a team. So I've built a team, and we work to film productions of Bozeman musicians to give them digital reach that otherwise would be out of reach.
Is that obviously born out of necessity from COVID, but I imagine that's probably a thing that maybe was in need prior to that and will continue to live past the return to normal, if there is such a thing.
I think that's right, Bob. I think that the audience reach that we found through digital platforms is remarkable.
Yeah.
So at this point, if we'll record and put and market that recording, we can engage with each local production 4,000 people. So if you compare that to the capacity of Reynolds Recital Hall, which is 247, that's a nice place to start.
Yeah.
One thing I had to get used to was that platform quickly became platforms, and you have to just cater to each of the digital platforms. So that includes YouTube, Vimeo, SoundCloud, Clubhouse, TikTok. And at first, I put a 90-minute piano recital on TikTok and then thought, why is no one watching?
Yeah.
So you just have to roll with those punches and give glimpses of the music to each of those platforms. And it's not unlike seeing a beautiful sunset. And if you see the gorgeous colors at one night, you'll look to the west every night just to see what might be there. So it does not replace live performance, but it's a way of getting the live performance to a larger audience and then attracting a larger in-person audience. So I think it can coexist going forward.
Yeah. Have you had much feedback? I know I personally experienced this a little bit through the last year. I love live music, and I liked to watch the videos. It's obviously not the same thing, but like you said, it's a sampler. But do you get feedback about people that maybe have experienced a little bit of fatigue with online performances, or like watching them more so?
Well, there's a lot of content online, and it's very difficult to get people to watch things. It's a couple of interesting observations. When you're videoing, you're asking people to listen with their eyes. So it is a different setup. I think with live performance, the fun of it is how much you feel in your bones.
Yeah.
I call that bone conduction, but just, you just are in that room, you're feeling the vibrations of the musicians in place. There's nothing to replace that. But when we've got cameras, we can show things that you cannot see even if you're sitting in the room, like piano hammers. They're very interesting to watch, but that takes, like careful camera work to do that. And then I think like on online productions, you've got to satisfy audiophiles and cinephiles.
Yeah.
And those are both grumpy people. Grumpy groups of people.
True.
So part of that is raising the quality to make sure that it sounds great and looks great. But when you put the music on a digital platform, it's almost always the sound is in a compressed form. So that's one of the challenges we have, which is how do we introduce people to the music, but then how do we get them audiophile quality recordings to then, like sit in their own space and, tune those speakers just right and just really dive into
be able
music.
to hear.
Sure. So that's a project we can solve over the next couple of years.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's a great idea. It's, I mean, like I said, I've just kind of have more of a bias toward the audio and haven't been that interested in the video, but I know that that's not a lot of people's bent for sure. So I think it's great to try to contemplate ways to, accommodate what people want and make sure that you provide the quality that elevates it. And I think that's the thing that combats the fatigue. I mean, if somebody's going to watch something, make sure that you provide them high quality material and they'll watch your material. So
I think that's right. One of the fears I had about videoing is that music to me is exciting because it appeals to the ears over the eyes. And so our dominant sense, of course, is our eyes. And I think it's a way it opens up imagination because it's not appealing to your dominant sense.
Right.
So that ocular centrism, it circumvents that. And you just kind of have to, with your mind, fill in all the gaps. And I think that's why you get an open-mindedness when you're listening to a symphony or opera. So I want to preserve that. I don't want to close that down, but at the same time, it's such a nice distribution channel. I had a cool moment the other day when we were given a really long wildlife lens, and I was shooting in this room with it. And the first time I kind of had this Monet moment where the camera on the keys was so tight that the whole horizon became this gorgeous bass 12 pattern and just hands flying up and down. It was very modern. And I thought, cool, that's a cool thing to look at. That's a visual exploration of what we're doing here. And that I think people want to see. Visual exploration of the live music happening. That's worth someone's
that's
viewing
pretty
time.
interesting. I think that again, if you bring a little imagination to it and move people outside of what kind of the norm, which is putting up a camera over here and watching somebody sit there and play the piano, then maybe there's less of that competition for, the places your mind can go while you're listening to music. So that's a pretty interesting take on it. It's I think it surprises me how maybe like you said, it shouldn't because we are so visually dominant, but how easily people will just accept that and don't want to sit and dig into the music itself and stuff. So
and I had to be patient with that. I mean, even my own mother will only watch 10 minutes of a recording I put on. But I've learned not to fight against that. The digital platforms are probably a 10-minute attention span until you can get the audio and video quality up to the point where you're really willing to listen. We'll all sit through a movie, an hour to 2 hours, but there's a lot of artful camera work going on there to keep
keep your attention and stuff. Well, that is an interesting thing. It's like music compared to audio compared to video of a performance is even more of a difference than a book compared to a movie. And the enjoyment is filling in parts for yourself, and maybe some people are just getting to where they don't want to expend the intellectual energy to fill that in. I don't know.
Yeah, I hope we can counter that. It's the power of imagination. That's the beauty of music, is that it inspires that creative, non-linear thinking.
Right. Brynn, you're just here for a short time, I hear.
That's right. I'm just here for today to sing this.
Nice. Well, I think maybe that's a good place to jump right into to some songs here.
That sounds great. This is our first song. It's Rachmaninoff, Opus 21, number 7.
It was a beautiful piece of music.
Thank you. Not bad at all, Bryn, for 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
The poetry of that piece is very direct. It's usually translated as "how beautiful this space" or "where beauty resides," but the Russian's much more direct. It's just "здесь хорошо," which means here, beautiful. Next, we'll sing a piece by Florence Price. Do you want to introduce this piece, Bryn?
Sure. For me, some of the beauty of this piece lies in the fact that it was written by a black female composer, and also the poetry is by a black poet. And we performed this at a gala last week, and that performance was Thomas's first performance of a piece by a black composer.
That's true. Great threshold to cross.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know what the caged bird feels, alas, when the sun is bright on the upland slopes, when the wind stirs soft through the springing grass, and the river flows like a stream of glass, when the first bird sings and the first bud opes, and the faint perfume from the chalice steals. I know what the caged bird feels. I know why the caged bird beats his wing till the blood is red on the crowel bars, for he must fly back to his perch and cling when he fain would
was a fantastic adaptation. Yeah, we could have another hour of conversation about that topic of black composers and female composers and yeah. So how long have you been singing opera?
I've been singing for about 5 years now. So not super long, but a good enough amount of time.
Yeah.
But you're a former violinist, correct?
That's right. So I am
early
a
music
former
training in
violinist.
violin.
So I grew up with a lot of music training and then switched to voice when I was 16.
Oh, nice. And how long have you been playing piano?
How long have I been playing piano? Nothing special. I just started kind of the usual age, maybe 8, and spent a couple years on it. But the outstanding music educator in my town was the band teacher. So I picked up trumpet because we had one in the closet, not because I was particularly good at trumpet, but went through trumpet, oboe. I used to just haul instruments home, basses, try them out. But I started singing in high school. Again, just response to the educators available. Had a very fine choir teacher. And then picked up piano as a senior in high school. Studied a couple of years in college, but then kind of went an unconventional life path, which included a year as a homeless person. That's a true story. So I took a long break, 20-year break, and just picked up piano playing, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, wow.
See if I could get fingers
Get back to it. Yeah. Went from picking the instrument that you didn't have to haul home from band class every day to...
Exactly right. Yeah. This next song is Robert Schuman. This is Opus 25, number 1, Widmung. That song was a wedding present from Robert to Clara. And of course, there's the 2 Ave Maria quotes at the very end of the piano part, which is the hardest part of the piece. And terrifies me every time I get to it, because you cannot mess this melody up.
It's also the best part of the piece, and as a soprano, I hate it when the pianist gets the better part.
The better part of the piece.
Direct. We have one more song, which is Samuel Barber. And it has a very interesting spiritual energy in this piece. It's both very enticing and peaceful and terrifying.
I will take nothing from my Lord, said she, unless he gives me his son from heaven in the form of a baby, that I may nurse him. So that Christ came down to her in the form of a baby. And then she said, Infant Jesus at my breast, nothing in this world is true, save a tiny nursling you. Infant Jesus at my breast, by my heart every night. Johannes I not a troubled but begot on me the choice by heaven's light. Infant Jesus at my breast, what king is there but you who could give everlasting good? Wherefore I give my food. Sing to him, maidens, sing your best. There is none that has such right to your song as heaven's king. Every night is infant Jesus at my breast, at my breast.
That was quite a variety of selections.
Yeah, that piece should leave you speechless. It's that
Yeah.
it's that type of a psychological portrait.
Yeah, all the best things stir up all sorts of different emotions. And so have you performed together
See, for
before
at
or
least
much?
3 years, is that right? Yeah, like we first did Bryn's senior recital when she was still in high school. That was the start, and so we've made sure we've sung something every year. We just keep adding new songs. It actually makes a big difference to have a long-term partnership.
Yeah.
I was noticing when we both mentioned how long we've been at our respective instruments that it's been a similar amount of time. And what a great joy that is, that we get to grow through it together.
Yeah. How when you're singing and playing together, I mean, how much does that help after you've got some experience with each other? I don't know how much anticipation and playing off each other there is, but does that help?
It changes the sound.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. So next I'll go to a solo piano piece, and it will be a different sound. And if I was singing with a different singer, it would again be a different sound. Brynn has a very, she can sing very high, but has like a depth of tone to the voice, almost a Puccini-esque soprano. So that I can bring out a lot of inner lines and color, because she can sing on top
Carry
of that and
over
handle
that.
that. Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Local Musician Spotlight, or maybe you're watching it on YouTube. This is KGVM Bozeman and Loken Productions. I want to thank Pat Loken for, as always, schlepping all the gear, for our field trip here to your studio and setting everything up and doing all of the techie stuff. I get to walk in and stand in front of a mic and do next to nothing. And I feel a little guilty about that, but enjoy it very much at the same time. So, and we want to thank you for inviting us into your studio. It's great sound in here.
Thank you. This is at Emerson. We're at Studio 221A. I've been at the Emerson for 1 year. Actually, tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You moved in the middle of the thing, huh?
In the middle of COVID. When I first came to Bozeman, I put my piano in an outbuilding on composer Eric Funk's property, which was very nice of Eric to let me to do that. It's just a large instrument, and it takes a while to figure out where one can put it.
Yeah.
But as this space opened up at the Emerson, I've not regretted 1 second the move here. It's such a community of artists, so supportive. Behind us, if you're listening on the radio, if art from the artists downstairs, and it really makes a very visually interesting display. It's fun to play in that dynamic.
Yeah, some fantastic things. I love the modern take on haystacks.
Yeah, that's right. Both of those were done by Leanne Ramey. The smaller one was the plein air painting, and then the larger one is a studio interpretation of that same plein air painting. So I like the colors in it. Can't stop looking at it.
Yeah, it's striking.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wonder if you maybe want to play your solo.
I would love to. So I'm going to say goodbye to page turner extraordinaire Kenneth Christensen, who is my husband. Thank you, Kenneth.
Thanks, Kenneth.
And I'm going to play a solo piece by Johannes Brahms. It's Opus 118, and there are 6 pieces. And I'll play all 6. The difficulty in this piece is the juxtaposition of different moods that come very quickly on top of each other. So.
Nice. That's quite a complex piece of music.
Thank you. It's emotionally complex.
Yeah, I don't listen to a lot of classical music, but I was sitting there wondering about, what Brahms what story he was trying to tell, or if he was trying to tell a story, or just, paint a palette. And then it made me wonder if it really mattered what he was trying to tell, or if it mattered more what I was trying to hear. And, then just thinking about whether he wanted us to understand the story or just to make our own story. And
yeah, I actually think you've nailed it, Bob. Like, this music is not music that tells you what to think. It provokes thought of, from any direction.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, I find it very interesting to think about what, really what the composer might have intended or hoped. And in the end, how important that really was. I mean, it certainly is important at some level, but maybe not really for the...
There's a spiritual energy that I can access through that piece and pieces like it. That's interesting to go. It has these pieces have a long memory. So to go back to 1893 and be like, okay, spiritually, where does this come from? Right. But we get to recreate it right here, 2021. Our new concerns, our new world. So
yeah.
It keeps it fresh. I imagine the interpretations of those pieces have drifted dramatically over time, just as the world has changed.
Right, I'm sure.
But it is nice to be able to tap into thought that old.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you very much again for inviting us into your studio and for sharing with us today. And thank you, Brynn, for singing for us. That was fantastic. And thanks again to Pat Loken for doing all the things and
thanks,
helping
Pat.
to put this together.
If you're listening on the radio, you should see the array of equipment that Pat has brought in here today to capture this.
Yeah. So we'll be back next week with another local musician spotlight, or maybe in a couple weeks. But we hope you enjoy this and stay tuned. And if you like this, you can go to the Loken Productions YouTube channel, and there's we did a segment with Abby Wenger in the Lay Lounge up at the university. She played the piano up there, and that was fantastic too. So I know that's on there. If this kind of music is your preference, you can find some of that, and there's all sorts of other things up there. So we want to thank you again and hope you will stay tuned to KGVM.
Thanks, Bob.